Why do people go on a training course or go to listen to a speaker? I think it's reasonable to assume that they want to know something, they want to learn something, but it's deeper than that. They go because they have questions for which they want answers. They have problems for which they want solutions. They have issues that they want to know how to address. But it goes even deeper than that. Each person has their own questions for which they require their own answers, their own problems for which they want their own solutions, and their own issues which they need to know individually how to address. People go to a speaker thinking and hoping that the speaker will give them the answers they want, tell them how to solve their problems. But how can a speaker actually do that for everybody? If there are several people in the room with exactly the same question, they will want, most likely, if only slightly, different answers. Any speaker can't be expected to know everyone's questions or problems, and even if he did, he wouldn't have the time to answer all the questions and problems individually. I've been to courses and expected to be told the answers that I want, and most of the time, as with most people, I've come away thinking something like, well, that was interesting, but how do I put that into practice? The most important word there, of course, is I. How do I put that into practice? I want to know how I answer my questions and where I find my solutions. It's not important to me how the person over there or over there answers their questions, even if they are the same as mine. So, what's behind all this? What's behind all this is that we are individuals. You've probably heard that before, but yes, well, of course we're individuals, but what does that actually mean? Let's just have a look at that for a moment. We've all got a body. We've all got the same physiologies, biology, neurology, anatomy. So that's pretty much the same for everybody. We've all got a mind. The mind consists of the same parts. The three parts that we're most familiar with are the conscious mind, subconscious mind, and unconscious mind. There's no doubt in my mind that there are lots more parts that we just haven't any clue about at the moment, yet to be discovered. Your unconscious mind looks after those parts of your body that work automatically. You don't have to remember to keep your heart beating. You don't have to remember to breathe. For most people, unless you're a haemophiliac, if you cut your hand, it heals. Your conscious mind has specific functions, those of analysis, evaluation, judgment, criticism, etc. So you can make a conscious decision. Your subconscious mind has none of those functions, and it takes absolutely everything at its face value and takes it as valid. As we go through life, we learn all sorts of things. We go through various socializations. A socialization is where we embrace and absorb the standards, the perceptions, beliefs, behaviours, habits, interpretations, attitudes of a group of people. Your primary socialisation is into your family when you're a child, and your primary socialisation is finished by the time you're about 2 years old. By that time you've absorbed everything, all the habits, attitudes, beliefs, behaviours, standards, values of your parents and siblings. As we go through life, we endeavour to avoid particularly emotional pain and to maximise pleasure. So we change our behaviours, we change our beliefs to fit in. This is the formation of what psychologists call ego. And as we go through life, we have different experiences which we learn to maximise if they're pleasurable, or to minimise if they're painful. And we develop behaviours and attitudes all based on our experiences. Now, as everyone has different experiences, the contents of our subconscious minds are all different. This is why we need different answers to the same questions. Research in America, so I'm told, has discovered that in a traditionally delivered course where the speaker typically tells you what to do, gives you a number of steps, typically only 2% of people go away and put their newly gained knowledge into practice? 2%. This tends to bear out the fact that if you ask anybody if they've had the same experience that I've had of getting to the end of the course and thinking, well, yeah, that was interesting, but how do I put that into practice? I'm not saying it's 98%, but it's pretty close for most people. People need to find their own answers. Now, obviously, if you're teaching someone to drive a car, if you're teaching someone to use a computer, they have to be given steps. You have to do things in the correct order, or it doesn't work. What I'm talking about are training courses on subjects where people have an element of opinion and experience. This is where people need to find their own answers. It's necessary to enable them to do that by giving examples. For instance, in the courses that I run, I get people to focus first of all on the questions which they want answers. I then go through various information from which they can then pick out the bits that are relevant to them. If, for instance, I have, let's say, 6 techniques of neuro-linguistic programming that could help you to build your confidence where you need it, you'd probably be interested. So I explain the first technique. I get you to practice it, having demonstrated it on someone, and you might think something like, yeah, that was interesting, but I don't think it's what I need. But other people might be thinking, yeah, that's just what I need, that was great, that explains a lot. So I explain the second one. And again, in the room there will be a number of people who will be fairly passive about it, others who will be quite excited about it. I don't tell people what to do. I explain things about confidence, about themselves, about their minds. So at the end of the day, if I've explained and demonstrated and people have practiced all 6 techniques, there'll be some people who will think, yeah, that was great. I like all those 6 techniques, and I know how I can put them into practice. Some people will have selected 5, some 4, some 3, some 2. It is highly unlikely there'll be anybody there to whom none of the techniques will have appealed. They will all have had a means of finding their own answers, and they will know how to apply the techniques that they've practiced.